Great time for racing enthusiasts, not only in Australia but in the United States, with some of their biggest races being run at this time, and we'll be going to California shortly for Let's Elopes clash in the Ramona Handicap. Keith Hillier, we're looking forward to it. Yes, indeed we are, Bruce, because this time she does clash with quality opposition. Flawlessly will be favourite. She's won her past two at the track without raising a sweat. It's going to be some race. 300,000 US Group 1. Max Presnell was in Sydney again yesterday at Royal Randwick. Max, you saw a good horse get beaten yesterday in the San Domenico.
Oh, you saw a good horse win the San Domenico too, Bruce. Sashed is a very promising filly, but Moss Rocket was unlucky, should have won. But nevertheless, I don't know whether I'd rather have Moss Rocket than Sashed carrying my colours. Both very promising horses, both very good. Mick Dittman rode 4 winners. Perhaps it should have been 5.
Can you remember a race such as this where every horse was resuming from a spell? It must have been pretty hard to get a form guide as to what their fitness levels were at.
Yeah, well, we did have barrier trials, Bruce, which is I was going to say a vital gauge, but it is a good pointer. And we were able to also get a line on between gallop races, which Moss Rocket had galloped between races at Newcastle recently. So we could get some sort of line on their form, but nevertheless, as you say, there's nothing like racing condition, and it was one of those rare occurrences where they were all going in resuming.
Well, Moss Rocket, he's unmistakably picked up in the replay, Bruce, with a black cap. That is Dittman's cap. It's not a motorbike on Doncaster Road. It is part of the race. He's that far back. It's an unbelievable performance from a favourite.
Max,
what happened to him, he balked at the start. He half-jumped, they let them go. He came out awkwardly, only about a half length behind. Before he could muster speed, he was given a slight bump and put, basically, there he is in Keith Hillier's bike cap, right back to the tail of the field. Now, Dittman maintained that had he got a clear run in the straight, a better run in the straight, he probably still would have won. But she's going to the line very strongly, Sash, too, right on the rail now, coming through, and she beats them in a couple of strides at that point. But here comes Mick and Moss Rocket.
Wide out. Here's Moss Rocket jumping out of the ground. Sashed is shortening stride. Moss Rocket is flashing to it. Too late. Sashed won the San Domenico.
So where do we look for these horses? Sashed by Sir Tristram out of Shea Bis, beautifully bred. Moss Rocket, are they milers? Are they potential Oaks and Derby horses, Ascot Vale horses? Where do we go?
Now, I would say that Sashed is a classic horse in the Oaks mould. She's by Sir Tristram, she looks a stayer, and that's why the performance was so good. The speed, the acceleration that she showed over the 1,000 metres. Cassidy won cleverly. I don't think she was at full bore. I'm not suggesting that had Dittman jumped clean and been there early in the race that he wouldn't have won, but I still think that Sashed is an outstanding prospect. The other horse, I think more of a sprint horse, a speed horse. I think if Moss Rocket had jumped, he would have been on the pace, if not leading. I do think that 1,600 metres would be as far as he'll go.
Maybe the Caulfield Guineas for him. A stunning result yesterday at Caulfield with Black Stunner winning. He'd been entered for Werribee, I believe, as well on the same day. But from a Cup's point of view, Tennessee Jack's run and Great Vintage.
Well, firstly, Black Stunner was eligible for a Class 2 race, and that's what he could have contested at Werribee, but he went to Caulfield and he won. Great Vintage was the eye-catching run in the race. This lightly raced New Zealand mare, now trained by Bart Cumming, having only her 11th start, flashed home to grab the Quinella. And Tennessee Jack, Bruce, he's got a long way to go. He finished 11th. He was ridden closer to the lead than we would have imagined. He copped a bit of a check at the 600 metres, but he came back puffing like Max would after collecting the morning papers.
How bad's that, Max?
Yeah, well, if I've got a sprint 500 metres, perhaps. But nevertheless, the quality of that field yesterday is what I find questionable. Certainly, Great Vintage is a stayer of potential. And Tennessee Jack, well, first run for about 12 months. You wouldn't expect him to do much more, but yet he was very firm in the betting.
Yes, he was in the market. Let's have a look at the performance, particularly of Great Vintage, coming from nearly last on the turn.
And further back in the field, then at the head of the others, making up some ground at that point, Tennessee Jack with Pallarina as they round the home turn. Many chances, Ian's Orphan, one of the leaders here with I'm a Stealer, Leidenhall under the whipper. Down the outside, Dancing Gambler, and joining in Laronti with a good run, and Prince of Paradise, the greyers coming home well as they run down with about 150 metres left to go, and Black Stunner starting to fly down the outside. Black Stunner right over on the outside has hit the front with 100 to go. Here comes Great Vintage with a flying run. Black Stunner's in front. Black Stunner's won it. A huge run by Great Vintage. I think it may have run second. A nose to Prince of Paradise. Not much between that pair for second and third.
This great vintage flashing home there. She's got 47.5 kilos in both cups, and on the strength of that run, Bruce, she's firm from 50s to 20s for the Melbourne Cup.
So some action already in Muirfield Village out of the Cups, and we lost another classic horse yesterday, Max, in sad circumstances with one of the barrier trials at Randwick.
Yes, Cardiff Edition worked with stablemate Skating, pulled up very, very scratchily. The jockey had to dismount. Was led back to the enclosure. Cardiff Edition will now be retired and stand at Sedge and Hose Stud. Now that's
He's on the
Cardiff
inside,
Edition
Max,
on the inside, Skating on the outside. They run along nicely. They ran 47.6 for the 800 metres. It was a nice trial, but shortly after it was obvious there was something wrong with Cardiff Edition's action. The jockey dismounted, as I said, and it would appear that he's got tendon trouble, to the extent that he is unlikely he will not race again. And
briefly, the other trials yesterday. Shaftesbury Avenue involved in one and Bint Masqué up against Scalacci in the other.
Shaftesbury Avenue, according to Mick Dittman, didn't stretch out. Wore bandages. Very much a question mark horse at this stage. Bint Masqué looked bigger and stronger than ever. Worked beautifully alongside of Scalacci, who looks ready to win first up. Another one, March Hare, Bruce, just mark that one down. He also had a trial between races and went very well. He's resuming in the Premier Stakes at Canterbury on Saturday.
Such a time for racing enthusiasts, as we said, as we reflect on what happened last season. John Casey at the Horse of the Year dinner on Tuesday night.
The Australian Racehorse of the Year award has become one of the industry's most sought-after accolades. The prestigious award ceremony is attended by some of Australia's leading racing identities, along with the journalists whose votes decide the outcome. This year, New Zealand horses became eligible for the first time, and we may have to grow accustomed to the trophy crossing the Tasman.
Racehorse of the Year is Viander Cross.
Viander Cross was a runaway winner of the top award, polling more votes than the three other nominees, Naturalism, Scalacci and Rough Habit, put together.
Viander Cross has got up the score from the stablemate Rough Habit.
I think I speak for all the family when I say how proud we are of Viander Cross, and we felt so honoured just being nominated for this award. Chris would have liked to be here tonight, but those who know him know who comes first, and it's not us, but it's the horse.
A classic rags to riches story after being bought in a package deal for only $1,000, Viander Cross never missed a place in his 12 starts for the season. While the Lee Friedman stable missed out on the major prize tonight, they did produce the best two-year-old of the year, a filly that many believe could have him here as the major winner next season.
Drives the filly to the lead, Bint Masqué, and she is straighting them. Look at her go. Bint Masqué coming away to record a brilliant slipper win.
She's proved to be great, and you know, if people knew the limited preparation she had to get to where she did this autumn, you'd realise that she's got the potential to be one of the greats next year.
Dual Oaks winner Slight Chance took best three-year-old. The way she refused to give in up the Flemington Straight has her owners hoping for an even bigger prize this spring.
Slight Chance on the inside is still the leader. She won't give in, Slight Chance. She's a length Mahaya on the outside. Burst is starting to fly home, but Slight Chance in front of Mahaya, close to home. Slight Chance will be too good. Slight Chance has won the Oaks.
What about the Melbourne Cup? We're very confident at this stage that she'd run 3,200, and she's very well weighted.
John Casey reporting for Sportsworld.
Yes, the year that was and the promise of what is to come in the new racing season. Following that Horse of the Year, it was reported in areas other than Max's in Sydney that Viander Cross might contest the Caulfield Cup. The stable have denied that. It will contest the Cox Plate, then go to Japan, and the only way Viander Cross will run in the Melbourne Cup if he's not selected to go to Japan.
Keith, stay with us. The race is running late in California. It's about 15 minutes away. We'll be going there live. Unfortunately, Max, you can't stay with us because of the commitments we have up there, but you give her a chance?
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing the race. I thought she had a soft touch when she won at Hollywood Park. This is in the silk department, and I'm very hopeful that she'll do well.
Catch you in the next couple of weeks, Max. Thanks for that, Max Presnell. Keith to stay. A break after this, motorsport and Let's Elopes race coming up.